Look, it's a tough job market. And if you're worried about keeping your job, there's only one solution. You have to make yourself indispensable. So how do you become indispensable? It's hard. I have 4 R's to guide you. The first R is reskilling. LinkedIn has incredible research that shows about 5 or 6 years ago, if you looked at any typical job over the course of 18 months, about 25% of your skills needed to be upgraded. You would throw those skills out and you needed new skills. The research now shows that today and going forward, every 18 months, about 80% of your skills are going to be thrown out and you're going to have to learn new ones. And so everybody's going to have to be reskilling all the time. And yeah, you're sitting there thinking, yeah, fine, I'll reskill. That's not enough. You have to actively want to be reskilled, proactively reskilled, understand what you need to be reskilled in. It's exhausting just thinking about it. I totally get it. Okay, but then again, I'm a person who wrote her final exams in a blue book with a pen. So I've reskilled a lot of times over my long life. And I get that right now, people who are Gen Z and Gen X and millennials have spent a lot of time reskilling. And what I'm saying may not be that wonderfully received, that you got to keep on reskilling. But the way you appear indispensable with this R is that you're the person who stands up or who's known to tell other people, hey, look, this is an area we should probably reskill in. I'm going to be the first to go do it. Or you actually seek out people who have skills that look like they may be coming down the pike for your work and you say, hey, can you help me figure out how to do this better? Basically, I'm saying be an early adopter of new skills that are coming into your work and be the poster child for the person who got there first. That's reskilling. The second R isn't really starting with an R. It sort of sounds like it's got an R at the beginning. It's irregular relationships. Let me explain what it means. If you want to become indispensable, you can't just know the people in your small circle at work, the people who are in your comfort zone, the people who do the same work as you do. You have to know people who are outside of your exact group, people who are up in the organization and sideways and in other parts of the organization. But even more than that, you have to know people who are in other lines of work, other functions, and other organizations. Because here's a sad, dirty little secret about business. It's that when industries and companies go down, they go down together. So if you were a print journalist in about 2001, 2002, and you lost your job because digital was coming, and you picked up the phone and you called your other friends in print journalism, they would say, yeah, I'm looking for the same job you are. The people who survived the transition from print to digital journalism were the people who had friends in tech, who were people who had already gone ahead to digital journalism. And so irregular relationships will hold you in very good stead. Knowing people in different parts of your company, but even more than that, people in different kinds of industries, different kinds of roles. Your circle has got to be as big as you can make it with authentic relationships. So if your company or your industry start to fall apart beneath you and around you, you have a lifeline and you know who to call. And the only way that happens is when you stay friends with people from college, when you stay friends with people that you've met in the past, that you stay connected with people in your neighborhood, you have hobbies, and you just know more people than people who are the usual suspects that you've known from work for a really long time. So that's the second R, irregular relationships. How do you know how many irregular relationships you have and if you should have more of them? You can actually relationship map. There's software for it. Just Google relationship mapping. Or you could just take a piece of paper and talk about all the different places you know people from. School, work, a hobby, a card club you're a part of, and actually write down all the people you know. It's going to take you some time to do it, depending on what age you are. But if you notice that everybody you know is grouped around like one thing or one company, then it's a sign that you do not have probably enough irregular relationships, and it's time for you to open up your world to include more relationships that are not adjacent to where you are right now. The third R is relevance. You have to stay up to date on what's going on in the world if you want to become indispensable in your job. It's not enough to say, well, the bigs, the big people in the company are watching what's coming around the corner. If you want to stay relevant, then you are the person who is up to date, seeing the upcoming trends, knowing who are the big players in your company, in your field, and knowing what's happening out there in the world. I always say, your currency is your currency. And what I mean by that is how current you are, how up to date, how aware you are of industry trends and company trends is your currency. How much worth you have. The future belongs to people who are thinking about the future. Now listen, how do you stay current? It's hard. All right, it's not just from doom scrolling, because the algorithm is going to feed you stuff that you've already looked at and what you've already expressed interest in. For instance, on my algorithm, my feed, I get a lot of pictures of German shepherds. I'm kind of interested in submarines and planes. I get a lot of stuff on that. What you want is information that you aren't normally looking at. And that actually takes your brain, okay? That actually takes you going to places that have information. And one of the hacks that I have on that is to seek out people who you disagree with. Read columnists, watch columnists, listen to people who don't necessarily share your views. This is one way to up your relevance right away because you know what other people are thinking that don't agree with you. It's hard. You could lose your mind doing it. I have learned so much from listening to people who are not either in my area of expertise, who disagree with how I do things and think about things. So that's one way to stay current. Another is to each month add a different platform to the platforms that you already have to find your news and your information. So, of course, like all of us, I have 5 or 6 things I read every day. I always look at the New York Times, I always look at the Wall Street Journal, I check out the Daily Beast, I look at CNBC.com, but all the time I'm seeking different platforms. And when I hear somebody mention a platform that I don't know about or a person I don't know about who has a podcast, I say, tell me more about that, and I check it out. This is a discipline. I mean, it's not something that comes to us naturally unless we've got this voracious curiosity and hunger. Look, the world is just shooting so much information at us all the time. It's just coming at us. And actually, we want to cover our ears. We don't want to go find more information. But if you want to make yourself indispensable, you have to do the hard work to make sure you're learning stuff that you don't just normally know, that just is not reaching you by osmosis. You have to break out of that and make yourself current. All right, the final R, if you want to be indispensable, is resilience. Because the world is going to change around you so fast and it's going to beat you up, and changes are coming to your work and to your new boss, new company, all this other stuff. And you're going to just keep on getting pummeled by the world. And you need resilience. Now, I have a different definition of resilience than most people. Most people say resilience is grit, and they sort of say, when things are tough, soldier on, pick yourself up. And I think, okay, grit's good. And there's actual research that shows that the people who do succeed have the most grit. But I feel like there's this missing component when people talk about grit. It's sort of philosophical, but I'm going to offer it to you here today. I think that grit also comes from having forgiveness for the reason why we are being beat up, or while we're on our back, or why we are feeling down. Sometimes we have to forgive ourselves because we made a big mistake, or we have to forgive the people who kind of got us into a pickle. Maybe a company fired us, or a boss didn't treat us the way we wanted to be treated. And the longer you hold on to those feelings of anger and resentment, the less likely you're going to be to access the resilience you need. So let it go. I mean, these are hard words. I don't mean to operate with platitudes here. You got to let go of your anger and your sadness about what got you into a pickle in the first place, and add that to your grit. And that's true resilience. Resilience is forgiveness plus grit. And if you've got that and you show that at work, it shows a kind of emotional soundness that companies will fight to keep. So those are the 4 R's: reskilling, irregular relationships, relevance, and resilience. They are the components that make you indispensable at work. And these times, we all need them more than ever.